Welcome in, Slumpbusters. This is your boy Kyle, and we are back with another YouTube quick hitter. So news came in yesterday that DeAndre Hopkins is going to be suspended 6 games for the Arizona Cardinals. It's from a failed PED test back in November that apparently cycled through now and then came back positive, and they went through the bureaucracy and all that stuff. Hopkins isn't going to appeal. They're going to serve the 6-game suspension, and the Arizona Cardinals will move on as such. And so what's interesting about this is the Arizona Cardinals traded for Hollywood Brown after what appeared like Jahan Dotson was picked by Washington, and then the trade got executed. So like they had it ready in place to acquire Hollywood Brown in case one of those 5 receivers fell to them at 23, and then they would take the wide receiver. But they kind of had an idea that Hollywood Brown would slide in as a number 2, as a 1,000-yard receiver for the Ravens. And now he's going to be the number 1 receiver for a short time. And you slide AJ Green back in, or whatever's left of AJ Green, for the Arizona Cardinals. You wait 6 games, and then DeAndre Hopkins is going to come back, and whatever's left of DeAndre Hopkins will still probably be a wide receiver 1. Now, it's interesting because DeAndre Hopkins has hit like the age 29 curve of like when wide receivers start to decline, and obviously missing 6 games, not the greatest thing in the world, especially for the Arizona Cardinals, who like really need DeAndre Hopkins. If you look at his splits between games he was hurt last year and games he played, the Cardinals offense was like close to night and day. And part of that was also Kyler Murray got hurt around the same time DeAndre Hopkins got hurt. I think both of them missed games after that Packers-Cardinals Thursday night game that was played when the Cardinals were still undefeated and the Packers only had 1 loss, and AJ Green didn't turn around and it got intercepted at the end, and one of the most chaotic football games of the year. But the Cardinals offense was kind of night and day after that. This is kind of cut and dry. We've been through the PED suspension stuff before. It's the same thing with drugs and weed, that I feel like we've stopped being morally righteous about this. In my opinion, baseball kind of derailed the getting on your high horse about taking PEDs and steroids, because I feel like we don't really care that much anymore, as we shouldn't, because we haven't done the public shaming of DeAndre Hopkins. And kind of cut and dry, DeAndre Hopkins is going to get suspended 6 games. Basically, the Cardinals get to run the offense they had before, with Hollywood Brown sliding in as a number 1 to replace Hopkins, Rondale Moore being the number 2. They still have Andy Isabella, even though they tried to trade Andy Isabella. And Cardinals will just kind of run a heavy tight end formation, I guess, for the time being. But who knows? Maybe everything will work out fine and they'll be able to overcome the 6 games without DeAndre Hopkins, because DeAndre Hopkins is the best player in that offense, or at least he was for a time. I think now Kyler Murray might be more valuable than DeAndre Hopkins, but for years and years, DeAndre Hopkins was better at what he did than even Kyler Murray was at what he does. And that's no shade to Kyler Murray. That's just the fact that DeAndre Hopkins is one of the greatest wide receivers I've ever watched in my entire lifetime. And now he's going to head into his 30s, making $27 million a year, which I guess prorated is about $17 million next year. The Cardinals technically saved $10 million, not against the salary cap, but they saved $10 million from the suspension. And it's a tough break for Hopkins and the Cardinals, but it's also kind of cut and dry. We've been through drug suspensions before. I think it was Lyle Collins had the same thing last year. It happens, and we just move on from it. So DeAndre Hopkins, 6-game suspension. We'll probably forget about it over the next 3 months and then get to the first week of the season and be like, oh yeah, DeAndre Hopkins can't play for the Cardinals right now. All right, so make sure to subscribe to the Slumpbuster podcast and the Slumpbuster YouTube channels. Leave those 5-star reviews and downloads and comments and concerns and all the fun stuff that helps continue to support this here fine YouTube channel. And we will be coming at you with more content all throughout this week, including a full NFL draft recap.